Okay, very good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and start because we have a lot for our 2-hour program here. Welcome to the YL Forum here at ARRL Pacificon. My name is Carol Milazzo, Kilo Papa for Mike Delta. I'm the chairperson for District 6 of the Young Ladies Radio League. And I'm here just as a moderator to introduce you. First, I'd just like to go over a really quick introduction to what the YLRL is. And it was organized in 1939. It's a nonprofit organization of women amateur radio licensees, international in scope. We have members here in the USA and DX countries. And there's a list of the founding mothers of the Young Ladies Radio League. It all started with this ad in QST back in May 1939. And the point of that ad was asking how many women key twitchers there were out there, because there were a lot of CW operators back then. And Ethel Smith, W7FWB, later K4LMB, wrote a letter to the QST editor asking YL key twitchers to respond to her. And maybe we should start a YLRL. The whole point of this was that most of the literature out there, the Radio Amateur's Handbook and QST, refer to amateur radio operators as he. And very rarely was there even a thought for a young lady who was also a radio amateur. So 12 YLs responded at first, and the YLRL started in October 1939. And a constitution was drawn up. The dues were 25 cents a year. District chairmen, that's what they called them back then, were appointed in each call area. The first monthly bulletin was November 1939, and the name of for that bulletin was called the YL Harmonics, which is still in publication. Two new members from Alaska and England in April of 1940. In October of 1940, there was 15 pages of the YL Harmonics. Started with nets on 160, 80, 40, 20, and 10 meters. And the signature 33 instead of 88, because we thought that love and kisses a little bit too much for one YL to another all the time. And 33 means love sealed with friendship between a YL and another YL. So YL is now used for all licensed female operators in May 1940, regardless of your age. And that includes all girls of all ages as well as women of all ages. And local chapters started in June 1940. More local chapters formed until Pearl Harbor, because the World War II put an end to amateur radio for a while. But the YL Harmonics kept going, and by 1942 we had over 300 members. The third anniversary of the YL Harmonics had 13 pages, and there was actually one page of opportunities for YLs to work in the Navy Signal Corps, MIT, and the Women's Army Corps, and also the Navy. So we contributed a lot to the war effort back then. We do have conventions. The first one was in 1955 in Santa Monica, and we've been doing, on average, every 3 years convention. The last one was in 2018 in Oklahoma City. We were due for one this year, but we're a little bit off schedule because of the pandemic. So we should be having one in one of the upcoming years. And it's just a picture of the 2018 convention. Rhea Jairam, the N2RJ, spoke there. And some of you may know Andrea Slack, who is the famous rover that travels all around the country with her basketball hoops on her car. And this is a group picture of all the YLs who were at the last convention in Oklahoma City. And I'm somewhere in there somewhere. Okay, YL Harmonics is a bi-monthly publication. If you join YLRL, it's only $15 a year. You can do it now online. We have a PayPal button, so you can do that online. And YL Harmonics is also distributed digitally as well. And we have scholarships. We give 3 scholarships every year in memory of our silent keys. And we also sponsor contests throughout the year. And there are YL nets. And that's on HF, also on Echolink. And if any of you, Echolink is especially good for those of you who don't have HF privileges, or you might be living in a place where you can't put an outdoor antenna, or don't have a radio, with any PC or mobile device, you can get on Echolink and join these nets. And if any of you have any questions about setting that up, right after we complete the YL forum, we'll have a little session here that will explain to you how to get your Echolink set up, and we'll even help you do that if you'd like. I'd like to mention specifically the ladies of the net, because there's a number of group members of the ladies of the net here. Meet Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. on 40 meters, 7245 kilohertz, and on 80 meters on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. on 3880 lower sideband. Thursdays is when we have a lot of the Echolink nets. The YLRL net is 5 p.m. Pacific time, and then the Minnow net is also Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time on Echolink. That's the ARRL conference, which is the Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association. If you're interested in joining, again, you can go to our website, ylrl.org, and join up there. And we also have applications at the booth outside in the hallway. Any questions? Okay, if you do have any questions, you can always drop by the booth and speak to one of us. And I don't really want to hold this any further right now, because we have a special speaker who is going to address us a little bit. This is Kristen McIntyre, K6WX, who is the ARRL Pacific Division Director, who very graciously agreed to come and address us.
Thank you, Carol, and I'm honored to be here, honored to be asked to say something to all of you. It's really heartening to see women here. There are few of us, which is unfortunate. I'd love to see more. You saw Ria on the screen there. She and I are the only women in the board of directors room, other than the CFO of the league. But as far as leadership at the director level, that's it. And you know, it's tough sometimes, because you're negotiating with a room full of men and kind of got to be aggressive. But we managed to get some of our important points home, and certainly things that are important to the division. It's a tough thing, as you probably know, to get more women involved in amateur radio. I'm also a pilot, and they have it even worse. I think internationally, 4.5% of women are pilots, or 4.5% of all pilots are women, which is very small. Only about 6,000 of us in the U.S. And we don't have numbers in ham radio, because we don't find out who is male and female when we do licensing, so we have no idea. But I think it's kind of a similar number. But I think the important thing to do is outreach. You know, if you participate, you show your enthusiasm for amateur radio, other people see that, it's like a fire catching on. And especially if you can participate at a leadership level, that's even better, because you can show people that women do participate in amateur radio and love it, and enjoy getting on the radio and being active. And that's the key too. And I know it's hard, because it's different for us in the way we interact with people, but you know, the social side of amateur radio is really important. A little history for me was that I'm a geek, first and foremost, absolutely dyed in the wool. And when I first got into ham radio back in 1980 or whatever, it was just the technology stuff that interested me. And I didn't discover the social side until my 40s. And that's when the light turned on, and I said, this hobby is about people. It's not the technology. The technology is really cool, but it's all about the people. And so I urge you all to explore that side of this hobby. It's not just, you know, picking up the radio and screwing the coax in and climbing the towers. It's the people that you interact with that makes it fun and interesting. So with that, I'm going to leave you in capable hands, and I unfortunately have to scoot, but thank you all for being here at Pacificon. Thank you all for being active amateur radio operators, and I hope to work you on the air. 7:33.
Thank you. We have a number of presentations that we're going to proceed with. We will have time also for passing the microphone around, so people can also share what they're doing in their local communities. We have a few presentations already prepared. I guess we'll start with yours, Emilia. And let's see, they're in no particular order. How about the Queen Mary one?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, let's see if I can get this one to work. Let's use this. You know how to use this, right?
And once you show me.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but I have to start it. Here.
That one's forward?
Oh, that's backward.
Backward, okay.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, we'll start the slideshow. There.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Emilia Seiferling. I've been a ham roughly 12 years. I got into it, like many of you. My husband's a ham. I was going to all the meetings, so I figured I might as well be able to participate, so I got my license. So that began the adventure. Let's see. And I thank my husband for putting together the slide stuff. I'm not that technical. So it's always nice. I got to get somewhere where I'm not in anybody's way. No, I can hide over here. This is good. This is good. So we'll start. Whoop, wrong way. I should preface it. I am a member of the Ladies of the Net group, and we have tried before COVID, since I had become associated with it, to do outings where we could get to see people face to face. And one of the first things that came up was to operate on the Queen Mary radio room. And so we drove down from Rio Vista, where we live, and spent a weekend down in Long Beach, because I said, how often will I get this opportunity? So, I jumped on it. And off we went to the Queen Mary. And oh gosh, I forgot what was in here. We did a few kind of strange side things. We went to a cemetery in wherever we were at there. I forgot to read the slide. And have we got a better one there? Oh, Lee DeForest. We have slides of the history of anything electronic in any aspect of it. And we have journeys around the Greater Bay Area, any place we go. We've been to Marconi stations that still exist. I guess we are kind of a geek. So this is one of the things we did. Note the wife. The wife that he was married to at the time of his death is not buried there. She remarried and is buried somewhere else. But I thought that was interesting trivia. But she was a ham. Okay, here we are at the Queen Mary. That's the radio room is up on toward the top. Beautiful lobby. If you haven't been there, it is a great place to go. We stayed on board. If you're a little claustrophobic, not so good. There were no portholes, no nothing in our room. Very good sleeping, very dark. It's a venue now. A lot of weddings were going on. It must have been quite the ship in its day. And they transported troops during the war. And that was the view from one of the dining rooms. I thought that was a cool shot through the porthole there. And just a view of I believe that's Long Beach we're looking at. And antennas. And do the radio room. And they do have a mini museum there. And Paul was our host docent for the day. And I think we had about 4 of us working at one time. Lauren is now a student at UC Davis. This is to prove there are hams under 50 years of age. And some of the ladies are here in the room. Debbie and Tina are here. And, what did I do? Did I go back? I think I skipped here. Okay, there we go. Debbie and Tina are here. Lauren. Oh, that's you, Jim. That's my husband. Dee is also here. I don't think she's in the room today. She's here. And that's Lauren's mother. Not too often you see a mother-daughter combination. Debbie working the radios, myself, Denise. We worked under the call sign for the Queen Mary W6RO. And we have a certificate of participation for going. And this is the rest of our tour, driving around. This is on our way home. This is a view from our hotel room. It was much nicer when you had a view, but it was sure cool there. It was so hot that day, that weekend.
Yes.
And, I try to combine radio with sit-down meals, even if it's on the terrace of the hotel. That's a joke in our club. I can be bought with a lunch out. He doesn't look as happy, but he does have his radio hooked up on the balcony. And that was our trip to the Queen Mary. And are there more? Are they all in a row or are they different?
No, I have to load
Okay.
another.
What the ladies at the net tried to do was to utilize the ladies who were on the net with any contacts they had. One of the Southern California members set the Queen Mary thing up, and we had people set up different things that were closer to their area. We've gone to the Queen Mary, we've gone to the Red Oak Liberty ship, we've gone to the Hornet in Alameda, and we're able to work on all of those, plus tour the facilities. We have invitations. We were invited, we worked somebody who was on the air at a submarine in San Francisco, and we've been invited to go there. Pompaneo, is that it? Yeah. Pompanito. And I did some research into going to the Potomac, which is in Oakland, was the Roosevelt presidential yacht. And so that's a possibility in the future that we would go. And I don't know which one he's got here.
This is the Hornet.
This is the Hornet.
Oh, let's say Queen Mary again. Sorry.
No? Okay, it's the Hornet. Welcome to the USS Hornet Museum. Okay, again you get the travelogue as we go to the Hornet. This is in Antioch, the Bridgehead Cafe. Kind of a biker bar, but they serve a really nice breakfast. So we went there on our way from Rio Vista to Pittsburgh. If you're familiar with the Bay Area at all, that's on the way to Alameda. So there we got some poor soul to take our picture in front of the Hornet. And antennas. As I said, I'm not that technical, so I don't know what kind of antennas, but they're antennas. And more antennas. And you can see San Francisco in the background. And the museum, the Hornet is a museum ship, so they do have displays throughout the boat. And this was the submarine communications system. It was like a little closet. Poor guy had to work in there. And this was the radio room. This is the new refurbished radio room. And I think they have like 6 or 7 stations set up. And we were working there. And that is a poster of a porthole to give you a view. And I believe the stuff on the right is more accurate to the type of radio they had there when it was still commissioned. Am I correct, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are real.
Yeah, those are real.
Real radios.
And yeah, whatever the Harris RF 350 transceivers are. And this was us on our, those of us who showed up for that. We have Tina and Janet and myself. And Carol, she is a CW whiz. She made us all look good. And I was doing, I think, 20 meters voice. And let's see. That's the stats for the day there.
Very good.
And I did work 2 YLs, which was interesting, explaining to them what I was doing. And that's a state map of what we did that day. And it's a good way to meet people, go out, have fun, encourage others to go. And I don't know what's is the next one maybe what?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you were down at the Queen Mary, you didn't go over, just a little hop over to the Lane Victory, the Victory ship? They have a nice radio room you can operate from in there too.
Well, if I was from Southern California, I probably would have known that. Not knowing that, we went to the Red Oak Victory ship in Richmond, which is near the Rosie the Riveter Museum, which is another big draw there. And it was a Kaiser manufacturing plant in that area for Jeeps. And that's all been refurbished into light industrial.
And Rosie just had her 100th birthday.
Yes, she did. And if you have the chance to go to the museum in Richmond, it is very well done, and their docents are very active there. At least they were before COVID. And we drove over to probably a half dozen different presentations that were put on concerning things that happened during the war. fashions and how fashion was affected by the war. Why they dropped belts from the men's uniforms. Why hem lengths went up to conserve fabric. And their docents are very knowledgeable of that wartime period. And it's just a very good place to visit. And I think it was free. It was a free one. And so it's very good. Great restaurant just a few steps away.
Lucid.
Okay, the USS Lucid. This took place in Stockton. Keeping with our marine theme here. The USS Lucid is a 173-foot wooden minesweeper, and it is docked in Stockton. And it is currently being refurbished. So this is 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, whatever. And it is much further along and really looking quite beautiful. And the Lucid is part of the museum ships on the air weekend. And so I believe the Queen Mary and the Hornet and all those, they all get on during museum ships weekend. And since this is in Stockton, it's like half-hour drive for us, so this is really close. And this is the Lucid. I think there's one other minesweeper in the U.S., and I think it's in Kansas for some reason. It makes no sense. And this is an aerial view of the Lucid. And it is all wood because it was a minesweeper to not attract the mines that they were trying to take down. And it looks much, much better now. That, gosh, this is, I don't know if we have any inside shots, but this was a few of us there. They had I think that was the digital station outside. So they had some stuff was on the dock, and then you go up the gangplank, and you get to see the on the boat. And there's a couple of us working the radio there, and they were spread out around the ship. Monica just got married a couple months ago, and she did upgrade to general recently. And Janet and Jim's helping us out there, and myself. And oh gosh, she's a member of the Stockton Club. Cecil. Well, I know Cecil, but I'm thinking the girl, his wife, brain dead. Anyway, that's his wife. That's Cecil's wife. It's a different club. I don't see her that often. There we are out. Jim was, I think, trying to learn how to do some FT8 or something there. I don't know. And that was the bridge. And it was a nice place to sit. And I tend to crochet, so there are times where I have crocheting along because it's a nice way to fill in the time. And that's it. Yeah, I should be in command. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the thing that it has fun with the hobby. Combine it with a little touring, a lunch out. Do something fun with it. And if you have the opportunity to join one of the YL nets, you meet some very nice people in it and make connections for places to go. Yes, Tina?
Yes, the running joke though with the ladies of the net is, we bring our men with us. As you can see, there's men there. So that when we do go out to lunch, they sit at a separate table, but we send the bill to their table. So the men are good for something while we're on the radio, when we do our little business.
You have to have someone to carry the bag.
Yes.
Yeah, my husband's middle initial is S, and I joke him it stands for Sherpa.
I call myself the Sherpa because Jim doesn't travel light with radio equipment, and it's always too many trips and it's too heavy and so that kind of thing. But Sherpa, yes, it is an equal opportunity term. Okay. Oh wait, okay. This is the Liberty ship that is closer to where I live. Maybe we can have somebody arrange something at a Liberty ship down there, and I'll drive down and do that.
Also the USS Iowa is down there now too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I feel a road trip coming on.
Yes.
And also Utah is really
Because I'm retired now for about, I think almost 3 years now. So I'm much more flexible to get to go places. So if some lady would like to arrange one of these outings, we can invite all the other ladies to join us, and we'll go on a road trip to the area.
I'll talk to some of my friends who actually work in the radio room.
Oh, wonderful. I think you should arrange something and get the word out.
I'll work on it.
Okay, you got witnesses here.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Red Oak Victory Ship, and it is in Richmond. I don't know if we're going to get some. San Francisco should be in the background somewhere there. Yeah, they're really promoting people to come. It was not very busy when we were there, but it was. They have a very loyal set of docents working with the Red Oak, and that gives it part of the history. It's too much to read right now. We'll move on. The Red Oak is a work in progress. It needs to be. Well, it's all expensive. They need money, like everything else, to continue on. And there is a slight fee to visit the Red Oak, but the money all goes to help maintain and improve the ship, so it's well worth it. Oh, there I am. Hardly posed at all. Sitting at the, yeah, like I know how to do code. The docent was quite talented, and he showed us all that stuff. Yeah. Now that one's a good one, because she knows how to do it. And some of the equipment, everything is workable there. And Carol did, they had another little nook with more modern stuff that we could work from.
Could you go back to the previous slide real quick?
Sure.
No, crystal and capsules. Wow. Thank you.
You know what that, you need an explanation of that? I can have my husband define it.
That's 1915 technology. Yeah, it's a real crystal. It has galena, and there's a little metal wire on it that touches the crystal, and you wiggle the wire around until you make a diode, and that's your detector.
Yeah.
No active components.
Yeah, all their stuff is in beautiful shape in the radio room. And they had this little nook with more modern equipment, and Carol worked there. And I managed to work somebody in San Francisco from Richmond. The guy was surprised I think, was it 20 meters or something? Or?
20-meter ground wave.
Yeah, but I didn't care. I got my legit contact, so I was quite happy. And let's see, we have Sacramento, Benicia, Chico, and Rio Vista represented there at the Red Oak. Okay, and that's the Red Oak. I think that's it, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it.
Okay, you'll be ready for...
Debbie, you have something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So we're going to switch.
The whole point is to get out and use your license, have some fun with new friends, and encourage others to do stuff. It's kind of nice you're not intimidated if it's strictly female, because sometimes the guys mean well, they take over and they do everything for you. Oh, let me just show you so you get it right. And then 20 minutes later, you haven't got to touch the mic. So, it's kind of nice sometimes to do stuff with other ladies, some of whom are very talented, others of us are not as talented, but we got them.
Oh, now then the computer and you project them to the time.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
It's in the wrong room.
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry,
I would automatically
My bad.
have gone to the computer as well, Carol.
my bad.
Not your bad. Okay. Oh, my.
There we go. We're good now.
There we are. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Debbie Johnson. My call sign is WB6LBC. I'm an extra class. And I have my husband here as well as my production assistant and developer, as Jim has done for Emilia. He's my PA, he says. And many of us are members of the Ladies of the Net, Tina, Emilia. We have Jody here as part of the McIntyre group that I'm also part of. And Ladies of the Net actually started here at Pacificon about 5 years ago when Tina and Janet, who couldn't be with us today, and myself were talking about how so many ladies are afraid to get on the air. They see their husbands do it, they see their friends do it, they see their partners do it, but they don't know what to do. And so we created the Ladies of the Net for women to come on and feel comfortable. We might have a question of the day. It's not always a technical question. It might be your favorite food, or what are you doing as a hobby other than ham radio? And we've been doing that Monday through Thursday now for all that time. And it has really made us much more comfortable to be on the air. And we welcome you to join us if you have time to do that. Well, we had a lot of time, didn't we? What now? Shut down 2020. What was I going to do with my time? I'm a retired teacher, and I have grandchildren, and they live nearby, but I can't be with all of them all the time, and we were supposed to stay home. So I took the time to study on QRZ 3 hours a day from March until June. And I really considered this a forced study session. Because normally I wouldn't have done that. I would have done something else and said, well, I'll practice that later on to get my extra. But I did that every day until June, when our club, MTARA, Mountaintop Amateur Radio Association, under the guidelines with the CDC, was able to set up a testing session. And here I am at the end of the table, concentrating and making my little marks on my test exam, not on the question paper, remember, only on the answer sheet. And I'm happy to say, next, that my wonderful test team, including Jody Lineker, who's right there, graded my test, and I passed and received my extra. As you can see, a little back note on that was when Gary and I were married about 47 years ago, his proposal was, will you marry this crazy ham? So I kind of knew what I was getting into. And I got my beginning license, novice tech, whatever we called it back then. And then when we had our paper upgrade, I was able to go to general. So for me to actually take this exam all those years later and pass was quite an accomplishment. I felt pretty good about it, and it made my brain work. Another good part of this is that, checking my notes here, oh yeah, that now I could help Gary, AA6GJ, because he's been teaching licensing classes on Zoom ever since the shutdown, and he does tech and general classes on Zoom, and he is a CVE. Well, now I could become a VE, and I could help him with all the test levels. We're members of another club, the West End Amateur Radio Group, which is K6BTV, Baker to Vegas, and we had been doing those classes in person. So now we were able to do them on Zoom, and along with other VEs from our club, we were able to do the testing in our own backyard. And we followed all the CDC guidelines. As you can see, we had our tables spread apart, we had everything sanitized, we had the sign out in front. They came up along the side, came into the backyard, so no one came into the house, and they could go ahead and take their test, and our VEs could grade it in the backyard. A little side note to this, so school was shut down, and our grandson and our son-in-law took the classes on Zoom for technician, and our grandson at the age of 8 received his technician's license. And our son-in-law was a 0 to hero. He took all 3 tests that day and became an extra. So now we have our VE team, and we're only 15 minutes apart. Anytime you need a test in Rancho Cucamonga, we can do it for you. Okay, all right, let's move on. Also at this time, we helped with other testing groups, and this is up in Big Bear, where one of our members, who's part of MTARA, was doing a testing session. And this is me getting on the air inside our hotel room. And we have another organization, another part of our MTARA organization that was developed during COVID that I see our leader is here, our fearless leader, and she'll let you tell, I'll let her tell you about it. But this testing session was under the direction of K6DDZ, Dee Herman, and we were testing people in that area. So now we were able to go and help others. Okay? Speaking of MTARA, the Mountaintop Amateur Radio Association, these slides are showing some of the activities that I took part in when we finally were allowed to get together. And this one was called I Am Lost. And what we did was we got together as a group, those of us who had Jeeps or off-road vehicles and such, and we went up into the San Bernardino National Forest area, and got lost. Actually, it was a directed loss, so it was okay. And using our compasses, as you see here, and also GPS, we would transmit through our radios to operators who were at home. And Denise, you were at home, weren't you? Yeah, right, okay. And they would use mapping programs at APRS to guide us out of the forest. So eventually, we were no longer lost. Another activity we did, oh, I'm sorry, that's next. Okay, so you can see that. We'll go ahead. And one of the daily activities I look forward to is, as I mentioned, the Ladies of the Net. And we get on the net every day. And as Carol so kindly put it up on our slide, that we are there Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. at 7.245, and we chat about all kinds of topics of interest, and we practice correct radio procedures. Also on Thursday nights, if you have 80 meters, we're at 3880, and you're all invited to join. And if you want to know more about it, you can go on QRZ.com and look us up under KM6CIR. I'm actually here in Gary's shack because my amp was down that day, and I was being net control that day. Well, as the world reopened, so did more of the MTARA activities. And we'll go to the next slide, and this is the Tour de Big Bear. This is a bike, not really a race, it's a ride, kind of an endurance self-test. And here I am looking at the maps for for the locations that the people have. And here we have DD, K6DDZ, and Maria, K6RMA, part of our club. And on that, we were start-finish, and we would relay messages down to the finish line if someone was withdrawing from the race, if there was an injury. We actually even had a level 3, which was someone had to be airlifted out. But, pardon? A level 1. I'm sorry, I always get those backwards with FEMA, so sorry. Level 1, and she had to be airlifted out, but she was okay. And we provided the communications also for the next slide, which is the Kodiak 100 race. And this is held up in Big Bear. It's a foot race. And this is me, covered up in my sleeping bag at 3 o'clock in the morning because it was about 46 degrees, yes. And we were set up, we have something called a carsel that's a tent, and it attaches to our Jeep. But it was still pretty cold, and these people were racing on foot at night up over mountaintops. So I'm really happy to just be in my sleeping bag there. That's just, and we're keeping track of them. That's, what's that called again, race?
It's runner track.
Runner track, right. Runner track, and we log them in, and they have a little chip in their number.
No, that wasn't for us.
But that was for the other racers' part.
That was for start finish.
Oh, for start finish. Oh, okay, that's right. All right. Too many races all at one time. I can't keep it straight. And over here is a setup for the Grand Fondo, which is a bike race in Big Bear. And we were out in the field by the aid station, and you don't see me because I'm standing up taking pictures. That's our go box. So next slide, please. All right, there is another great event that's been taking place for the last 16 years, and it's Route 66 on the air. Have any of you ever done that? Awesome, great job. Well, we happen to live in Rancho Cucamonga, 1 mile above Route 66. And so we did activities that day as W6C, and we worked from home, and here we are in Gary's shack again. We could trade off and use the radio, and then we had the computer set up here so we could see our logging. And in 3 hours' time, we made 75 contacts from 31 different states. So that was pretty exciting. And we also went over to Rialto, San Bernardino, to Route 66. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, but this is the historic Wigwam Motel. It was built in 1949, and they all are the shape of teepees, wigwams. And we have some pictures of the inside, but we didn't put them up. But it has gone through renovation after renovation. It's been trashed and been an awful place to go by. And the new owners have just turned it up into a really fantastic location. And Dave from our club, I don't think we have Vic in this picture, set up our radios with solar panels and the antennas in the back, and we had different groups of people coming to work and take part in it. We can go to the next one. And Dave had a drone, and every time we had a change in shift, he'd take a picture of the new team. So Dave and his wife Sandy are here. We have Gail, GBN, Joe, and TJ, her partner Matt, myself, and Gary. And you can kind of get a picture there of what the wigwams look like and how nicely they're done. Pardon? Oh yeah, that's a good idea, thanks. And this is Route 66 going by. So we were taking part in that, and it was really cool. I have to mention, as my OM was suggesting, we talked about how many people are, women are in the YL organization. How many YLs do we have? How do we keep track of them? Well, we're really proud to say that the MTARA group membership is 40% women. And we think that's pretty amazing. And we just work as a team. There's no distinction between whether it's a male operator or a female operator. We all help each other. We have antenna teams that go out and set up antennas. We have people that do classes and do testing. And it's just the most supportive group that I've ever seen, I have to say. Sorry, I am prejudiced. Finally, the last thing I did when 2020 shut us down was our club, and Dave, who did the Route 66 at the Wigwam Motel, had developed a newsletter. And I asked him, I said, along with the other items that were in there, I said, hey, can I do a YL corner? He said, yeah, that would be great. So I started out with the history of the YLRL organization and where the term 33 came from. And then I shared the history of some famous women who were operators, including Gladys Kathleen Parker, Graynella Parker, Olive Carroll, and Clara Rieger. And then, I don't know if any of you are members of SOAR, but SOAR, Sisters on the Air.
Sisters of Amateur Radio.
Sisters of Amateur Radio, thank you. Was really interesting how their topic came about, how their club came about. And they were out doing, I think it was a POTA activity, and their husbands were all busy, and they were all standing around going, we should do something ourselves. And they wanted to not talk about radio. They wanted it kind of to be like the old 1950s getting together and doing quilting and having a gossip time. And so their organization developed, which was really great. And one of the individuals that was mentioned in their organization was Kate Hutton, who you all know from Caltech. And she's very active as a ham operator. And the last thing that I did, my final article, which was this one for this October newsletter, was researching people who had used ham radio in fiction and how many women there were who wrote about stories using ham radio for fiction. And if you looked at the ARRL auction they just had, they recently had one of the stories up there to be bid upon by one of the female authors who was a ham and who used that in her story. This woman wrote, her first book was called K. Everett Calls CQ, and then she did K. Everett Calls DX. And it was actually based on her travels across the United States. Those were the only two books that she wrote. She was also a very well-known individual in publishing and ran her own public relations firm. And that was back in the 40s. But there were not that many books out there figuring into girls and doing amateur radio. So this was kind of a really cool thing to do. So I wasn't shut down at all. I had a lot of fun, and thank you for listening.
I forgot to include your Tuesday night to net and the interesting topics you brought up, and
well, thank you.
That also.
Oh, we have a 220 net on our private repeater for MTARA, and Jody's husband Tracy asked me if I would be willing to run that. And so every time I do, I try to have an interesting topic, like, did you know they used a Pringles can as a way to make an antenna for secret Cold War events and listening in, because people could be looking like they're eating from a Pringles can, but they're really listening. And that was, my author topic was part of it. And we also talked about some other the technical aspects. This last week, I just did one on the new ruling with the FCC and the radiation exposure and what you have to do to make sure that you're keeping everybody safe. And it's just some minor changes, but it's something we all need to be aware of. Thanks for mentioning that, Jody. Okay, and that's me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Debbie. And in case you haven't seen, I believe there's a list going around for people to sign in. And if you haven't done that, please pass it around and just mark yourself down if you'd like, so we know that you were here supporting us and showing up. And at this point, I just also wanted to say that one of the plans that we have after this forum is to go over a kind of a workshop on getting people set up for Echolink if they have any problems hooking up with that, setting it up on their mobile devices, and that way you can get onto the YL nets via Echolink, which is a great resource for us as well. So what I'd like to do is maybe pass the microphone around the room, if it's okay with you, and we could all introduce each other and tell us a little bit about ourselves and our amateur radio activities. Where should we start? Shall we start over here? Okay, Elise. Do I press the button? No, it's live.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elise, KI6PUO, Elise Scher, and I've been interested in ham radio a long time, since high school, but I finally got into it about 11, 12 years ago, and I'm a general. I took most of the tests over time. And I'm in FARS. I'm a board member of FARS and Food Hill Amateur Radio Society. You meet at the Covington School in Los Altos. Again, now we're meeting in person. We have Zoom also. And I'm also a member of PARA, Palo Alto Amateur Radio Association.
Thank you.
Hello, it's really great to see so many women here. The last time I came to Pacificon, there weren't so many women, so this is really, really great. I've started in ham radio kind of a funny way. My brother is 12 years younger than I am, and he hated to go to bed at night. So I built a little crystal radio set so that he could listen to the radio without any power, just the little set at night, and he would go to sleep that way. And it's one of the stories, he's a ham radio operator, and one of his stories that he tells when he goes to events like this is how his sister introduced him to ham radio, so I'm kind of proud of that. I live in Pacifica. I didn't do anything with ham radio since that crystal radio set, but married a guy who was a ham when he was a kid, and he has helped me with it quite a bit. I've gotten my license, and he's nagging me to get my, is it the general license. So I'll be working on that. But I enjoy ham radio. I'm often sitting next to him in the radio, listening to the people in the Pacifica Radio Club, which is kind of fun. It's not a very big club, but it's a good club. And I hope to do more with ham radio in the future. So I'm Georgia, this is Paul, and thank you. Let's see, it's going this way.
My name's Betty Barge, N6, very zany female, and I got interested in ham radio doing backpacking trips, because some of the other club members, the backpacking club, it was actually it was a ski club, but we were doing backpacking. They'd have a ham at the beginning and the back, and we got out of several situations that would have been emergencies, except they weren't, because we were able to handle them. So I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So I went and studied up and got I passed the novice tech in general same day, but I didn't pass the 13 words a minute, so I started as a tech. but I'm now an extra. I'm retired from Hughes Aircraft as a software program manager. I'm with the Hughes Amateur Radio Club. There's no Hughes Aircraft anymore, but we still have a club. And we do a lot of teaching of classes, a couple classes a year, usually about 25 graduates from it. And then I'm in the South Bay, the Southern California South Bay Club. And I lead the VE team for that, so we do the testing, and then I bring the VEs from the South Bay Club and do the testing, so you have the class and the test. Work a lot of the local community events, the 5 and 10K races, and the Little League Parade, which we call the Parade from Hell, because the kids wander all over the place. It's hard to keep track of them. So I did not get a ham license because my husband is a ham. I got one before we even dated. But,
I'm Karen Meisenheimer. I'm from Para in Palo Alto, the Amateur Radio Club. I'm just a tech, and my call is KK6NGA, and I did get in it because of my partner, and he has been in it over 50 years, and it's but the part I enjoy is I go on the bike treks, and I'm in the car on the radio communicating, and that's probably the most I'm ever on the radio, but that's what I enjoy doing, getting to get out and do that. But I have been to 4 of our field days, and in that situation I usually help with the food, but I find it very fun. And we've been to Quartzsite probably 5 times, and to Yuma and to Seaside up in Oregon for conventions. And that's.
I'm Heather Lee Takeuchi, and I'm from Hollister in San Benito County. And I've been a ham radio operator 13 years, and my husband's been a ham radio operator since he was 10. Little overachiever, but he was patient with me. He kept buying me the tech books, and they kept going out, And then we moved to Hollister, and I realized out in the middle of, nowhere, where there were more cows than people, that I realized I might need to call my own help, because there's no cell towers. Those farmers, they don't buy cell towers for their cows. So I might have to, get my own, repair truck if I needed it. So I decided to get my tech, and then he says, don't stop, just keep studying and studying. So I went ahead and got the general and then the extra. And when you start, learning for the general, they tell you about this VE service. And I was having to drive all the way up to Cupertino and Sunnyvale to go take my tests, which is over an hour away. And I said, I think I'd kind of like to do that. So I started a VE group as soon as I got my extra, and we're under the W5YI. And in 11 years, doing face-to-face ham crams and sessions quarterly, we had 500 people get their first licenses. Wow. And then this last year with the shut-in, we were part of the ham tools and exam tools went online, and were able to do, they did a study, and they demonstrated for Ajit Pai, who was the head of the FCC, and they said, sure, go ahead and do this. So we had a zillion people trying to get their extra before the pool went out in June, July 1st. And this last year we had 300 brand new techs in 1 year. And, just a little at a time, but, hey, you're shut in, what are you going to do? So it's like, hey, let's have ham sessions. So we were doing 2 a week, with 5, 6 people at a time, because you got to do them one at a time in Zoom, But it was great, because we got to meet all these wonderful people, and we had a joke of, can we test all states? Instead of work all states, we were test all states. We got up to about 42 states and British Columbia and Puerto Rico. So we felt pretty good. And we did have one guy who was working here from Germany, so we kind of count Germany. So it was a lot of fun. And I do meet a lot of wonderful people on ham radio, and I can't wait to start doing some radio operating from ships and stuff. That sounds like so much fun. So thank you.
Hi everybody, Annie, KM6QIW. I've been a ham about 3 years. My partner here to my left, ARRL, is an extra. And he got his extra and I got my general on the same day. And you know, the rest is history and all that.
We're getting married next year.
Other than that, no funny stories yet. Well, we did do the Hornet, and that was a thrill to do the museum ships weekend on the Hornet. That was really fun. So I like to do more of that stuff, and thank you all for being here.
Hi, I'm Mallory. I have had my technician license since June, I think. I took the test online over Zoom, and a couple days later I got my license, which I'm really excited about. My dad has had a license for a long time. This is CN, and he's been more active the last couple years, so we were listening to nets from the local club, and I got my license too. I'm really excited about that, and hopefully I can get my general soon. I've been too busy really to do radio stuff now that school started, but I hope I'll have time to do some studying for that because I'd really like to continue going and trying new things. I love talking to people who are far away and listening to people talk on satellites. My dad and I are hoping to be confident enough at some point to talk on the satellites and to work them, actually. So we'll try that soon. And it's been fun learning about the Young Ladies Radio League. I hadn't heard of it before, but I really like the idea.
Michelle, AA6MP. Oh gosh, when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I started building electronic things. Modded a 5-tube radio to become a shortwave radio. We added a BFO and regenerative filtering. I always wanted to have like the SB 301 and 401 pair, but there was no way I was going to afford that. The allowance didn't extend that far. Kind of lost track of things in my later teenage years, and went off to work in the tech industry eventually. Worked at a number of tech companies here in the Bay Area, and when I retired, I thought, you know what? I finally have time to go back and do that. So I got my technician class ticket and then general, and now I'm amateur extra. Was involved heavily with the Benicia Amateur Radio Club doing testing. So we did W5YI testing programs there, did a number of things. Moved on from that. I've relocated to the Portland, Oregon area now, and am busily converting a large loft space over our garage into a nice ham shack. Got the antennas up, got the wiring in. I'm not quite on the air right now. I've got to finish a few things. I gotta get there.
My name's Lauren, KM6DTJ, and I started doing ham radio about 3 years ago with the group in Big Bear and McIntyre, primarily just so that I could help out with the events. Seemed kind of pointless to have somebody sitting in my passenger seat with the ham radio and they could be somewhere else and I could have my own. So that's why I started, and now I live in the San Luis Obispo area and haven't really done anything since I left the mountain because I left all my friends behind. But yeah, trying to get back into it and yeah, go from there.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee, K6DDZ, and it's been more like 7 years that we got licensed together.
Maybe.
Okay.
5 years, sorry.
So, yeah, Lauren is my daughter, and my husband and I all got our techs together at the same time. Debbie and I tested for Extra together. We spent the early stages of the lockdown studying. And sometime in mid-March of 2020, I kind of got like bored and said, you know, it would be really, really nice if we could get some of our friends on the radio and see what we could do on a Friday afternoon about 5 o'clock. And so we started the Mountaintop Amateur Radio Association Happy Hour, MTARA YL Happy Hour. And it was supposed to be just, you know, 3, 4 of us, whatever, having a glass of wine Friday afternoon talking on the radio, because we're spread out all over the mountain and down the hill in Rancho Cucamonga. So we thought this would be great fun. Well, it's now developed into about 15 ladies that rotate through. And we do have some who check in on Echo Link like Lauren does. It's strictly for our club, MTARA. But it's been a great experience. And this is the first weekend that we have not been on the air since March 29th of 2020. So last night in the area outside of the bar, we all met and we had our YL happy hour out there, and we let our OMs come, and we ended up with 18 people just out chatting. And normally we have a question of the day, and the question last night was, you know, what brings you to Pacificon, and either this time or in the past. So it's been a great experience. I was participating with Ladies of the Net for a while until my schedule didn't really allow for it. But yeah, all of the activities in Big Bear, Lake Arrowhead, we're very, very active in.
Hi, I'm Maggie, KK6 DZS. And that's a joke because my claim to fame in our group in Sunnyvale, the SARS radio group, I was doing a proxy for my husband one night, and I was so worried about remembering his call sign that when it came time to give mine, I forgot. And the fellow running the net said, "That's okay, Maggie, we know who you are." I got both a general and a tech and a general license thanks to Hamcram, and I got it because my husband needed somebody to be on his team when we're driving across Alaska.
Okay, I'm Bobby Haskins. I'm KM6PQG, which I can almost never say. And I'm relatively inactive on ham. My husband is general at this point, and so we do some things. But I have to say, this particular forum has really made me think about getting more involved. I love what you all are doing, and the stories about how you got into it.
Hello, my name is Rosie, KJ7RYV. I'm also based out of Portland, Oregon. And I got into amateur radio actually because I have been brought in to run a grant-making organization. So I run an organization called Amateur Radio Digital Communications, ARDC. We love to do things like, I don't know, support young lady radio, radio league organizations with scholarships, for example. If they wanted to talk to us about that, that'd be great. Yeah, we make grants. We got our start, ARDC got its start by housing or being like basically the home of a bunch of IPv4 addresses that were used in packet radio, still used in packet radio. In 2019, due to the underusage of these millions of IPv4 addresses, the board of directors sold a quarter of them, and that is now the basis of a fund. And we use that fund to make grants to people in the United States, all over the world, in amateur radio, digital communications, scholarships, all that kind of stuff. So if you have an idea, come talk to me. I just got my license last October, and I'm ashamed to say I've not yet been on the air. I think I feel very bashful to get on there and like start talking, and then I'm like, I'm just going to break rules and start swearing, and it's going to be terrible. So, you know, I would love to find like maybe not an Elmer, but an Elma to help me out. So, an Elmerette. Okay, cool, got it, Elmerette. I would love that. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's my story, and I'm so happy to be here and to see so many women in the room. It's great.
A whole room full of Elmerettes.
A whole room full of Elmerettes. It's exciting. All right, thanks.
Hi, my name is Denise Loxton, N6DE. I first got my tech in general because I was on a sailboat and I needed communications way before cell phones. And so I did take the 13 word a minute code to pass the general, and I never went for my extra because I couldn't do more than 13 word a minute code. Eventually, I moved up on the mountain, and my neighbor told me about the Mountaintop Amateur Radio Association, and I went there, and Jody's husband Tracy was giving a class on extra, so I took the class, and I am now an extra, and with not having to do that 21 word a minute code, which is great. I do participate in a lot of the bike races up here on the mountain and the parades. It is great training for emergency situations if you ever get a chance to participate in something like that, because it really is, you really have to follow the communication and the command post, and it's just amazing training that we get, and we have fun doing it, and then we're volunteering, so the people that are participating in the bike races just thank you, and it's just a wonderful time to do things like that. And I'm also a VE. So I do help test. I'm not a coordinator. Dee Dee forgot to mention she's a VE coordinator. But I do help with that, which is also fun to see the new hams get their license. And so, yeah, our club is very, we do a lot of events. We do a lot of things, and we meet once a month, and we have great seminars. And we just have a wonderful leader, Tracy, Jody's husband, and like Debbie was saying, the men and the women are treated the same, and we're treated with respect, and we love it. And our club is really strong with a lot of wonderful women that really know how to work the radio. Oh, I also in charge of net. We do a Monday night net, and I'm in charge of getting all the announcements together and making sure we have the net controls in place, and that's a lot of fun too. So we're very active, and we love our club, and can't wait to get back on the mountain. Thanks.
Well, I just thought of a couple things. Emilia, Kilo India 6 Yankee Tango. No one mentioned being an officer in their current club. First of all, you should have a current club. Don't reinvent the wheel. There are people out there who can help you. Join club. But I'm a past president of my local club, so, you know, don't let being an officer scare you. It's not that big a deal. You can boss people around as well as anybody. So
I'm a past vice president.
Oh, past, good. I was termed out, so I'm 2 terms as I'm the current past president, so I serve another year on the board as the past president. Another aspect of the hobby that I haven't heard mentioned yet is working mobile. My husband and I do a lot of mobile stuff. He likes to do contests, and so we go out and do the VHF contests every year. We're fortunate enough to live near the intersection of 4 grids. Okay, get the terminology right. Over toward Concord, there's a point where all four grids intersect. So if you're doing the contest, you want different grids. So it's very convenient. So we do VHF contacts out of the truck, and the last couple of years we've done the California QSO party mobile. And I must say, if you've ever worked the California QSO party, and especially if you've worked at low power, you get stepped on by the big guys. You can't run a frequency because somebody comes in who doesn't hear you and takes over the frequency. And you work out however many contacts you can get in your area, and you're pretty much done. You don't hear anybody new. Come back and check later. Nobody new. Nobody hears you. And you get bored. Well, we worked at mobile a couple of years, and it was the most fun I've had working the contest because every time you change counties, everybody wants to talk to you again. And so you are sought after. They always tell you, you're the DX. They want to talk to you. Well, not if they can't hear you at 100 watts. You know, they hear all the big boys. Yeah, and you're fresh meat. You move to a new county, they haven't heard you in that county. And you make sure you say we're rover or mobile, and you say currently in whatever county, going to whatever county. And they get the idea. People will ask you, where are you going next? Where are you going next? And they'll follow you around your whole circuit. And they're just so happy to see you, and they want to chit-chat with you, so it's nice. It's not heavy-duty contesting for people who like really heavy-duty, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, sort of thing. Don't waste time, you're missing a contact. We had a really nice conversation with a guy who is well known in Nebraska, I think it was, as a mobile operator. And he was just thrilled to death to hear me on the radio working mobile in California. In the last California QSO party, they've changed all the scoring this year and how you can earn points for your club and etc. And we are members of the Motherlode DX Club. And so we thought, well, we'll go out to see if we can earn some points for the club. So we did a 2-day, 8-county tour working mobile for the California QSO party. And I don't know, it takes them forever to grade things, so I don't know if we won any kind of awards. But I did win, a couple years ago, I did win the YL, High Best Operator, most points, because it's a nice little niche. You aren't there aren't that many women that do it, and so when you do enter, the competition isn't that stiff. And when he is doing a state QSO party, I say, do they have a YL category? He says, no. Okay, have fun. Because, unless you're running a power station, you're probably not going to win. And the first year, I just dinked around with it out of his truck. We had just gone to a quiet area outside of town, and I think I got 20 contacts in about 2 hours. And I came in 4th in the YL, and I thought, I could do this in 2 hours? What if I tried? So the next year I tried. Did I win it the next year? Yeah, I think I won it the next year. So I have a nice plaque on the wall, And then they broke it down into high power, low power. And I knew I didn't have a prayer as long as it was just one YL group, because there's one lady in our Motherlode contest. They live up in the foothills, on a hill with a tower, and run buku watts. She always wins. 1 year I heard she was sick, and I said, geez, Sue, I'm sorry you're sick, but good for me. And she set an all-time record this year with 1,200 contacts?
1,300 contacts.
Yeah, 1,300 contacts. Working mobile, 8 states, I had 90. So, she always wins. But I did win it before the year she was sick, probably. And so I have a plaque. But if you work mobile on any contest, it's just fun because everybody's happy to hear you because you're somebody new and you give them a new contact. And it's an easy thing to do. You don't need a lot of special equipment for it. So it's another aspect of the hobby people should consider. It's not everybody's into bike races or running races and whatnot, and not everyone's into contesting, but there's a niche out there for everybody. So you just have to look and find the one you like. You're on.
Oh, hi. I'm Kristen Duggar, KD6SUN. I got my license, I think, 2 years ago. And I got into the hobby because my dad is an amateur radio operator. He's our Lodi Club president, K6AN, and he does all kinds of things. So if people have heard of him, I'm sure they have because he's all over the place. But I'm just kind of starting out. I did do something really big. I put an antenna on my car. Oh, and I think I will go for my general license. I'm just working on my master's right now, so might have to wait till that gets finished. But big things coming, I'm sure. We'll see what happens.
Hello, I'm Jody Lineker, and my husband is really big into ham radio these days. But when I married him, I knew he was a ham, but he wasn't into it at that time. And how I got involved in ham radio was through very devious means. He said to me when my son was in high school, "Hey, why don't we spend the weekend in Long Beach?"
we'll stay in a motel and we'll, eat out. Oh, and you and Ryan can go to a ham radio class on Friday and Saturday. I said, what? Well, I like let's go to Long Beach and have a weekend out. But yes, he enrolled us in a ham radio class. Well, the overachiever I was, I'm sweating bullets. I'm trying to read the book, or they want to talk, and I'm going, shh, I'm reading, I'm studying. And of course, my son passed with a higher score than I did, but I did pass. So that's how I got involved with ham radio. Well, going forward, we didn't do anything with it until our son talked us into joining the Forest Service off-highway vehicle volunteer program, patrolling trails. And we got to know this nice group of people, and they gave you a radio from the Forest Service to be with you when you went out, but we're in the mountains. You go uphill, you go down. Well, when you're down, you're in a hole, and their radios were worthless. But so many of us in the club already had our ham radio licenses. We just stayed in touch by ham radio. And from that, we went into San Bernardino County's Emergency Communication Service. And it's under the fire department there. And we got so much training. You would not believe how much training they want you to have, because you're going to be passing traffic and you need to understand what you're saying and the importance of it, so you don't mess it up in an emergency. And from there, my husband got involved in teaching classes to try to get more people into ham radio in the mountains, and eventually helped found the Mountaintop Amateur Radio Association. We also work with CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team, and we've gotten many of the CERT members their ham radio license. So we now have our own MTARA net, the ECS net, and then a CERT net every week. And in the wintertime, when we have storms, it can be pretty dicey in the mountains. We really actually have one road in and one road out. And so when the weather's bad, the MTARA members have our own net, and we will watch out for each other. We know what the conditions are outside our various communities. If I'm coming up the hill, I just have to go ahead and call my husband on the radio, and people will be monitoring us all the way up. And so we find that in the mountains, they know that when the big one comes, we're probably going to be on our own for at least 2 weeks. And so we have a very tight community that takes emergency radio very, very seriously. So that's my story.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tina, Kilo 6, Kilo Sierra Yankee, and I got started because, well, I'll call him my husband. He's KI6VLC. Many of you guys probably heard of him as Bravo Ben, but he was a ham operator, and he was also in charge of the disaster committee in our mobile home park. And so we have the only emergency station for 544 homes. And so he was on the California Rescue Communications Net, and then we got involved in the RV net. And then, so I thought, for a birthday present, I'll get my tech license. And so I got that. And then I thought, well, this is, I don't know. I thought worldly, and I thought, well, let's talk to the world. And so I got my general. And so then I'm now a net controller for the California Rescue Communications Net. I'm a net controller on the RV net. I'm a net controller on the Western Public Service System on 80 meters. I'm also co-founder of the Ladies of the Net. And so since my husband's passing, I'm also the emergency communication person for the 544 homes. And so I guess he said that, I took over far more than what he did because he was only on a couple of nets. And so I do enjoy the mechanical or technical things. I helped build our recent, the newest antenna. So I do enjoy that. So I encourage though, everybody to get, to go higher, and I'll be working on my CW and also to get my extra, because I think it is important to know the ham radio and to communicate, and also to, for emergencies. So anyways, here you go. Debbie, your turn.
One other comment about our MTARA club. Emilia, you were saying about women being on the board. Our upcoming slate of officers for MTARA for the next year, the president, the secretary, and the treasurer are all women. And the vice president is a man.
Thank you very much. I guess I didn't really say very much about myself and how I started amateur radio. Again, my name is Carol Milazzo, Killer Papa 4 Mike Delta. I was originally licensed in 1970, so I have 51 years in the hobby. I started in high school as a teenager, and I had, long before that, for a few years before that, I was a shortwave listener. And the way I got into that was I noticed that in some of my relatives' houses, there were some of these shortwave console radios. I guess people went in to listen to shortwave around the time of World War II to hear news from, overseas. So they had these old console tube radios, and I was just intrigued seeing the dials that said you could listen to Berlin and Moscow and Peking, they called it back then, in those places. So it just really piqued my interest. And since I always had interest in science also, I went ahead and eventually, after being a shortwave listener for a number of years and hearing hams talking on the air, I was able to, when I was in high school, I learned you could learn Morse code from an LP record. I bought an LP record at Lafayette Radio Electronics. That was back in New York where I grew up. And with that, I was able to, also with the ARRL study guide to pass the technician test. And a year later, I upgraded to advanced. I was able to practice the Morse code, get my speed up using the W1AW code practice sessions. And then 2 years later, I went and did the extra, which was 20 words per minute. And I still love CW. It's one of my favorite modes I still operate. And I have been past president of the River City Amateur Radio Communications Society in Sacramento. I'm currently the webmaster there, and I was, subsequent to that, I was appointed as the assistant section manager for Sacramento Valley section of the ARRL, and I've been elected as section manager of Sacramento Valley for the past 6 years. So. And of course, you all met Kristen McIntyre, who is here, as spoke just at the beginning. She is now a director, so she's on the board of directors of the ARRL. So yes, do not hesitate to stand up and assume leadership opportunities when they arise. We need more positive role models to encourage more of our YLs to become active in amateur radio and to take their rightful place. So. This is great. We have a wonderful gathering here. I don't know, we're certainly open to any questions, discussion. Otherwise, it's been a pretty long session, and it was chock full of information. We did know that there were a few of the YLs that wanted to get on the Echolink, and if they had some questions on that, I do have a short PowerPoint presentation that just explains the mechanics of getting that set up. And if anybody needs any hands-on help, we would be able to help them with that as well. Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.